Hello and welcome to Half Grown with Benita D. I'm your host, Benita de Guadalupe, and today I am alone and I'm going to be talking to you about rock bottom. So, rock bottom is different for everybody, and my rock bottom was probably, I, I want to say my entire childhood. That's my first response. But if I have to put it down to like one moment in my life or one time in my life, I think it would be when I was 12 years old. And I know that seems like, why would I be talking about when I'm 12 right now as, an almost 19-year-old? Like, why is that still affecting me so much? But I don't know. I think I was going through a lot, and I'm going to be getting into it. And then we can talk about why it affects you so much, like growing up, going through so much, how that still affects you to this day, how trauma and stuff that you go through when you're a kid can still affect you. And honestly, it wasn't that long ago. I'm not very old. I'm only 18, and 12 was not that long ago if you really think about it. But, anyways, getting right into it, when I was 12, my two older sisters both moved out, and I was living alone with my mom. And my mom was really abusive. So, when I was younger, I was homeless, and my whole family was. It was me, my mom, and my two sisters. And we were living in a lot of messed up situations, and my mom was she was being pretty awful to us too. I always wished as a kid that I had a nice mom. I was like, I can handle being homeless. I just genuinely wish my mom was nicer. If she was nice, I could handle being homeless and it would be fine. You know what? I always wish for the mom from Little Women to be my mom. I always wish that Miss March, that's her name. I loved her. I absolutely loved her. And she was my favorite character because I wanted her to be my mom so bad. I don't know if you've read Little Women or watched it, seen the movie or anything, but they're very, very poor. But their mom is loving and they're happy with what they have because their mom is amazing and their family is so together. That's all I wanted as a kid. But anyways, I was homeless and I went through all of that, and then I was living in a cabin in the woods, and that's where I was living when I was 12. And there we had no running water, no electricity, nothing like that. It was a one-room cabin. We didn't even have insulation. It was obviously a really bad time in my life because of that, but it was also really bad because my sisters had just moved out, and I love my sisters. I'm very happy that they moved out. If I could go back and change it, I would not. I would be happy that they moved out. I would want them to move out still because they were in a really messed up situation. We all were, and they needed to get out, and they became 18 and they could move out. And I told them to go in that moment. I told my sister, Juana, you should leave. I was telling her, go. I was convincing her to go because, she was scared. And I told her, no, you need to leave. You need to go and be happy. And I'm glad that she did. I encouraged her then, and I'm happy I did. But it was also the hardest time in my life after they left. It was the hardest time. My mom got worse, and she started being physically abusive to me more often because she was already physically abusive to us. My mom started choking me out when I was, I want to say 9, because I know where I was living at the time, and I was living with this lady named Judy. I love her. I will always love her. And yeah, that's when my mom started choking me, when I was 9. She split my lip when I was 6. And she said if I didn't stop crying, she would split the other side. Should I be putting this on the internet? I don't know if I should be telling the world all these stories about my mom. If she ever sees this, she's going to be really upset probably. But, I mean, we're good now. Can I say that? Like, we're chill, I guess. Like, I don't want to say I'm over what happened, but, like, I choose not to think about it. That's where I'm at right now. And I don't know, I'm figuring it out. But anyways, that's not important. my mom started being more physically violent to me when my sisters moved out, and she started, beating me up and stuff like that, and it got rough. And then my friend passed away, and I think that's when it really became rock bottom for me, when he passed away, because I mean, he was a really important person to me, and he was genuinely such a light in my life in such a dark, dark, dark time in my life. And when he passed, I was devastated. And nobody was there for me. Like, not a single person was there for me. Juana barely talked to me at the time, but when she did, she was, helping me a lot. But we didn't get to talk a lot because I was grounded all the time and stuff. And then she was going through a lot at the time too. And I didn't hear much from my other sisters. And my mom didn't let me talk to like anybody else. So after my friend passed away and my mom was doing all the stuff she was doing, and she wasn't supportive about, me grieving or anything like that either. She was not. She actually, I don't know, she was like the opposite of supportive. She was awful about it, and that was a whole nother thing. She was just, But that was my rock bottom, and since then, I think my life has taken a full 360 turn, because now I am living with water and electricity. I know, bougie, but dude, nobody understands why I'm so appreciative of having electricity and having running water, because I lived without it for years. Years. I'm telling you, like, half my childhood was without electricity, if not more than half. Yeah, I love the fact that I have the lights on right now. I love the fact that I have the lights on. Let me tell you. But anyways, things were not easy for a long time. Things were really hard for a long time, and it wasn't just poof magic, one day things got better. But I will say, I kept trying. Even when I was living with my mom alone, and like the only people I had for comfort, my sisters, had moved out, even then, I was still waking up and I was trying to do something with myself. I was trying. My motto at the time was pretty much, if I can't go and be social, I'm going to make myself who I want to be, so that when I can be social, when I can go out and make friends with people. Because, by the way, I wasn't allowed to see anybody. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere or do anything. But I was like, when I do get to go out and meet people and make friends, I want to be a good person. I want to be someone I'm proud of. And that is what I've strived every day for. And honestly, like, everything else has come along the way. I think making sure you are doing your absolute best to be a good person, and you are going and putting forth your best effort every day. You're, like, even if you can't do a lot that day, even if, like, I struggle with depression really bad, and some days it's hard to even get out of bed. But even if I get out of bed and I brush my teeth, boom, I'm proud of myself for that. But if I can go out and help someone, or go out and, be at my job and do a good job at my job and help the people around me at my job or whatever else, that's what I try to do. And as someone with a chronic illness, that can be limiting sometimes, because most of the time at my job I have to sit down. But I do what I can, maybe while I'm sitting down and making trays, which, for those of you that don't work at McDonald's, that's when we put the little paper on the tray that you guys eat off of. Yeah, but
Can I say something?
What?
To your audience?
Take the microphone. Scarlett wants to say something to my audience.
Oh,
Don't unplug this.
Hello. So yeah, she's disabled. Yeah, whatever. When my fiance at the time broke up with me, kid you not, she like ran to my house. Like ran on her legs to my house to make sure that I was okay. So, if you think that because of your trauma you can't be a good person, or because of any physical trauma or anything that you can't be a good person, you're lying to yourself.
You heard it from Scarlett, okay? Be a good person. Put that first. And keep trying every day. That is my message I'm putting out today. Keep trying. Whether you are only accomplishing a little bit, just keep
Hey,
trying.
there's this saying I live by. Okay. There's this saying that I live by, and it's if you only have 15% to give, and you give that entire 15%, in the grand scheme of things, you're still giving your 100%.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, okay? That's what I'm saying. Also, hope. This is one of those cheesy ass sayings that you hear from therapists. And I heard from my amazing therapist, which she might listen to this podcast episode. So if you are, hi, Darla. I love you so much. You are amazing. But she's always telling me about how important hope is. And that is so freaking true. And she told me about the moment when she was scared because she could see that I had no hope, which was not at the rock bottom when I was 12. This was at a different, less rock bottom that was still kind of rock bottom. And it happened when I was like 16. And it was also really rough. And I went to the mental hospital when I was like 17, I think. But that was a different rock bottom, guys. Another thing, you can have a lot of rock bottoms in your life, but guess what? You keep getting up out of them, and they get less rock bottomy, to be honest. Like, my rock bottom now is not the same rock bottom as when I was a kid, because I know I can handle things differently than when I was a kid.
Your rock bottom now is when you sleep on the couch all day.
She said, my rock bottom now is when I sleep on the couch all day. Look, I feel bad about that. I get guilt from resting. But, anyways, hope is so important because when you lose your hope, what's your motivation to keep going? Like, that is your motivation to keep going. You keep going because you have hope. When you lose your hope, then you lose sight of, having a future, of having a good future at least, and you think that you're just doomed. And you gotta keep holding on to your hope and keep telling yourself good things are going to happen to you, because they are. You can make good things happen to you. I'm telling you, from being such a social person and from being, the kind of person that helps people, people have started helping me. The couch I'm sitting on is from my friend's mom who helped me. Half the stuff in my house is from people who have helped me. And that's from being a good friend to them. That's from them being good people, surrounding yourself with good people. And, I've just found my crowd and I'm genuinely so much happier. Yeah, there are things that I struggle with, like my health. That's the biggest thing right now, I think. My health is rough, but I have hope. I have hope that one day I'll be running again. Like, I have hope that one day I am going to be able to be athletic. One day I'm going to get a color guard flag and I'm going to start doing routines again just for fun, even if I'm not on a team, because I'll be physically able to again. I have hope that I'll get there someday. But I just hold on to the idea that good things are going to happen one day. And you need to have that idea. You need to know good things are going to happen to you. And you can't lock yourself up in your head. You can't let yourself drown in all the thoughts of, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Because, yeah, the rock bottom I told you about was a lot stuff that wasn't in my head. That was me being abused. That was my sisters leaving. That was me losing someone. But the fact that I got out of that was due to my head. That was because I had the mental strength to keep myself going, which gave me the physical strength to keep myself going. Because in those moments, I wanted to die. I was 12 years old and wanting to die. A lot of us were. A lot of my friends were. A lot of people are. A lot of the people probably have been, Like, that's the case for a lot of us. And you just have to really think about what is going to keep me going? What can I hold on to? What can I water and let grow? You know? That seed of a good thought, you need to water that. You need to make that grow. Don't water the negative thoughts and all those things and just let yourself drown in all of that, you know? But I'm sorry. I'm just ranting.
No,
I'm just ranting.
That's how you helped me get over Louise. You helped me, like, swim away from the bad thoughts. And you were like, but imagine what it'll be like when you get better. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Exactly. Imagine what it'll be like when you get better. That is what I'm doing now. That is what I'm doing now. While I'm thinking about, my health, and I'm worried about this and I'm worried about that. Right now I'm waiting for MRI test results to come in, and I'm scared. I'm terrified. I'm not terrified that there's going to be bad results. I'm terrified that there's not going to be a result. I'm terrified that I'm not going to get answers, and that's what worries me. And I hope that I get answers. But guess what? I'm not going to water the seed of the negative thought that's going to come, that test is going to come back negative. I'm going to water the seed of the thought that I'm going to get answers and I'm going to get help from this MRI. And, if worst comes to worst and there's nothing, okay, I'll be fine. But I didn't waste days and days just worrying and being negative and being in my head and all of that. I'll handle it if it comes. I'll handle it if, there's a horrible result. I'll handle it whatever happens. But all I can do is water the seed that it'll be okay. And that's what I do with a lot of things. And honestly, it's taken a lot of healing to get to the point where I am in my life. And I'm not in a perfect point in my life, but I'm so drastically better than I used to be. And it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been easy getting to this point. It's been hard. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm, magically being lifted up from rock bottom. I feel like I'm crawling up and I'm like scraping my whole body against the rocks and I'm getting blisters all over, but I'm still getting up. But another thing is my faith. Faith is another thing that you need to hold on to. If you have faith in anything, I'm not pressing that you have to have faith in what I have faith in. Just whatever you hold on to it close. Because if I didn't have the relationship I have with God, I would not have gotten through what I've been through. Because I knew that there was someone looking out for me. And I know that it wasn't me who lifted me out all the way. It wasn't me that got me away from my mom. It wasn't me that pulled me out of my grief. It wasn't me. There's my cat. It wasn't me that got myself this apartment and got myself the amazing friends. It really wasn't me. It was God. God gave me everything that I have, and I'm so grateful to him for what he's given me because it's everything I've ever wanted. I don't have insanely huge dreams for the future. I'm kind of in that phase of my life where I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life, and honestly, I'm content where I'm at now, and I don't even know what I want to do in the future. But I'm figuring it out, and I'm also leaving a lot of that up to God as well. But that's all I have to say about this, so thank you for listening. And honestly, I think I'm going to do a couple more solo episodes later on in the future, but we will have guests back. We will have guests back for the next episode. But thank you for listening. You can follow this podcast on Half Grown Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, I believe. And Half Grown with Benita D on YouTube and Spotify. Bye.